Enough said.
Years of previous attempts at changing Assad's behavior have all failed, and failed very dramatically. As a result, the refugee crisis continues to deepen, and the region continues to destabilize, threatening the United States and its allies.
The gang is back together. Welcome back to another edition of Enough Said. My name's Dan Barrero. Justin Guard returns. Welcome.
Good to be here,
Good
finally.
to have you back. And Lori Fisher is in the control room to get us started, as always. Hi, Lori.
Hi, guys. We are staying on top of the situation in Syria, the U.S. launching an airstrike there following a chemical weapons attack on Tuesday. President Trump did not consult with Congress. What now, Dan?
Well, I don't think anybody knows what's coming now. I would say we should probably just talk about the attack itself, which I'm buying the cliches, which call it measured, precise, targeted, and very limited, which ordinarily one might call presidential. But because it's Trump, I'm not sure people are willing to do that in this case. Look, I got no problem with what he ordered last night. I really don't. I'm aware that it's what, but we've had lots of words and a lot of people warning us that what took place again is so dangerous and crosses a line and it needs to be condemned. But what has condemning it really done?
Nothing.
This might not do anything, but I'm willing to say, let's see if it changes the calculus. I've got no problem with what happened, as I said, as limited as it was. We'll see. Let's see how it goes.
It doesn't sound like there's anything Russia involved at this particular base.
No.
There may even be, like, not all the planes that were used on Tuesday might not be there, but they did have to do something. And one thing that's bugging me, now everybody's going back, not everybody, but certain people are going back to tweets from like 2013.
Yes.
Not just for President Trump, but for, people in, the Congress people, and saying, well, you said in 2013, don't get involved in Syria, stay out of it, and make sure you get congressional approval. And they're using it as this like gotcha moment. Aren't we allowed to change our minds on things? Especially if it's 4 years ago.
Change it. Now, I will say
he does it every week.
Some people made the argument that we may have sent a signal that emboldened the leadership there and with Assad in saying that we're not about regime change. It's up to the Syrians to deal with that, and that he took that as an opening. I don't know if that's the answer. I will say this. It proves, by the way, that the notion that they'd gotten rid of all their, we had an agreement. They were going to get rid of all their chemical stuff.
By 2014.
And by the way, this sort of reveals the lie of that. Another good reason for the president to do it is David Duke condemned it.
Did he really?
Anytime you can, as far as I'm concerned, you can distance yourself from David Duke, I think that's a win.
So that was a different political reason, because people are arguing, well, totally political move. He doesn't, last week he didn't care. Now all of a sudden he's doing it. But if it's the David Duke factor, you're okay with that for political
and the other
reasons.
thing, and here's the other irony, is we're investigating his connection with Russia, and he's cozying up to Russia. He's in bed with Russia too much. There is nothing pro-Russian about this particular move. The danger is,
and now
let's
what's
not
their
let
response?
Things escalate and get out of control.
And what's their response to it?
Let's talk about some other history in the making. Senate Republicans take the highly controversial nuclear option, lowering the Senate vote threshold to a simple majority of 51 votes, not the traditional 60. This is all to confirm President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch. It is the blame game in Washington again. Dan.
Yeah, it is, and it's a sad. I'm with McCain. It's a sad day for the country, and it's getting lost a little bit because of what happened last night. I think it was inevitable, though. I mean,
they had to do it.
I think it had to be. Let's be honest about this. Donald Trump could have nominated Hillary Clinton to that seat, and the Democrats would still have said
an objection.
Can't do it.
Yeah,
there's no chance.
But
there's no way.
Yeah.
So they were going to do what they were going to do, which left, I think, the Republicans, as sad as this outcome is for down the road, for the obvious reason. What people say is, if you can get a simple majority to get stuff through, it's going to be less likely that you nominate more mainstream, quote unquote, candidates, and that's the tragic part of this precedent being set. But again, what were the? I don't know that there's anything else that could be done.
At some point, you have to change the rules. Yes. As weird as that is, if you can't come to any kind of consensus on anything, at some point the rules do have to change. And this kind of eliminates the filibuster, as I understand it, right? Which I don't think we've had a good filibuster since Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which was one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I'm
just shocked you know the film.
I understand. Yeah. Well, you kinda. It's good education.
Okay.
My 9 colleges, I don't think I learned about it, but. that we understand why that's in place, but also we understand how people have abused that in the past too. And this kind of
and again, I don't trust either side on this because they could easily, if they were switching spots and the Democrats were in charge, the Republicans would be doing the same thing that the Democrats were doing, and that's part of the reason people get rather distrustful of this whole system. It's all about power. It's all about your level of outrage is directly related to whether you have that power or whether you're on the other side of it.
Well, didn't this come up in 2013 when the Democrats had the power? This is where this whole precedent was kind of set, and now it's just being extended.
Yeah, and so I'm not surprised that we're where we are. What door this opens, and might we all regret it later? The answer is probably true. But when Gorsuch was originally nominated, a lot of people I trust said, okay, it's not quite the same as who a Democrat might nominate, but this guy's qualified. And you could play the game of picking individual outcomes and rulings where he's vulnerable, but in fact he is qualified. And yet we knew that it was probably going to go down this road.
Let's move on to Don Rickles. The legendary insult comedian passed away this week of kidney failure. He was 90 years old. Here he is in his glory. Take a listen.
Is that your wife? Jesus Christ. I'll tell you this. How much you weigh, Tiny? How much you weigh? I went to the Desert Inn, worked there for a while. I went to Tropicana, worked there for a while. And I worked at the Flamingo. In fact, I work most of the hotels. If I work one more, I'm going to work the airport. Anyway. I can't figure out why I'm on this show because I don't like you.
Jack Benny, a great star, God bless him. Milton Berle, great people. This is wonderful being here at the home. And I say this from my heart.
Get this, Rickles got his lucky break in 1957 when Frank Sinatra sat in the front row of one of his shows. For young pups, he's also the voice of Mr. Potato Head in all the Toy Story films. I loved him in Kelly's Heroes. Dan, did you ever meet him in person or have him on your radio show?
We did have him on the show. Garza reminded me of it. We played it back yesterday. I think it was about from 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was very reflective. He was much more serious than the bit we just heard. Which
I really wanted him to go after you, too.
Well,
maybe we should have figured out how to get that done.
I probably.
That's what I was hoping for.
The regret is we will not have that opportunity. Good clips that Laura used, and of course she left out a key part when it comes. It wasn't just that Sinatra sat in the front row. It was that Sinatra laughed at Rickles insulting him.
Yeah.
And nobody was insulting, Frank Sinatra about anything. And it seemed to sort of open a door. Like if you can go after Sinatra, you can go after everybody. And that's what made him unique. He didn't really have a comic act.
No.
He didn't do jokes. His jokes were, I got to play off. He needed an audience. He needed a talk show where there were other people sitting there, obviously. That was his bit, and he would just go after those individuals and did it in a way that I was hypnotized by him.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. I could not.
He's a classic.
If Rickles was on, I watched it until he was gone.
We should have just ran clips of him the rest of the show, and I don't think anybody would have cared. I think like a lot of people my age, I came to him in a different role than what he was really known for, and because he did have kind of that gap we talked about on the radio where he was a huge star, then fell out of favor a little bit, then had the rebirth. I found him on a random NBC sitcom on a Thursday night that lasted like 3 seasons.
CPO Sharkey?
It was called The Single Guy.
Oh, that was
And he was somebody's dad, and he was just savaging everybody. And I asked my mom, I go, who is this guy? She goes, Don Rickles.
Don Rickles.
But the beauty of now is you can get caught up on Don Rickles pretty quickly like anybody. You can find old school people.
That's the beauty of it.
Going back to YouTube. You don't have to go to the library and go somewhere and find it. It's all at your computer, which we did a lot of yesterday. What a cool story. What a cool life. Talking about being in the steam room at the Sands with Sinatra
hanging
and
out
the
with
rest
the
of the Rat Pack
before the show.
What an amazing time. I mean, what an amazing deal that must have been.
Well,
and how cool would that have been to just hang there?
Sounds good.
Enough said. Here's something that's amazing. The Twins are 3-0, red hot right now, beating the Kansas City Royals. One game ended 9-1. The team says it's a new year and a new team. Justin, do you agree?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it is
a new year. That's technically true.
It is 2017. Last year was 2016.
Yeah, that can't be denied.
It is kind of funny how they're mad at people.
That's not fake news.
They're bringing up last year, like we're supposed to just forget about. Like I saw Dozier was like, "There you go, bringing up last year again." We've turned the page. Well, sorry, but we've had to live through this 5 years as fans. It ain't as easy for everybody. But the baseball's been clean, and there's nothing worse than bad baseball, and we've seen a lot of it over the last handful of years. Poorly pitched, poorly fielded, poorly hitting poorly. These first 3 games, definitely a start and definitely more enjoyable than before. I'm not quite ready to crown them yet, but It's been a lot better than starting 0-9 like they did a year ago.
Well, you hit on the key thing. I think the hidden part that's the most important is the games have been relatively clean.
Yes.
The Twins games it's a combination of junky, disorderly, base runners everywhere, balks. Didn't we have a relief pitcher last year who was trying to intentionally walk a hitter?
He did.
And he threw it to the backstop.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff and you lose on top. That's the worst combination possible. And so the combination of winning and also cleaner games is encouraging. I still don't trust the pitching. I'm sorry. I don't trust Gibby. And Buxton's off to a terrible start.
As is Joe, kind of.
Him.
Yeah.
But as relief, yeah, we'll take it because it's different.
Putt on 17, and here she goes to tapping it up. Wayne, just be cautious. So she puts her coin down from the side instead of from behind and moves the ball just ever so slightly, not back to the exact same spot.
Welcome back to Enough Said. An eagle-eyed TV viewer changed everything for American golfer Lexi Thompson. She was leading in the ANA Inspiration Tournament when she was hit by a 4-stroke penalty after a viewer called her out on replacing her marked ball the day before incorrectly. She ended up losing the tournament. Several questions here, guys. Should TV viewers play judge for these kind of things? And do you feel bad for Thompson?
There are a lot of questions to answer. I think there's even more questions than that.
Who better than us, too?
Who better?
Hardcore golfers.
Huge golf rubes.
Yeah.
It doesn't really bug me that people sitting on their couch can change the outcome. They can make a phone call. For some reason, that doesn't bother me. I think it's embarrassing for golf officials that they can't officiate their own tournament. And somebody on site, with all the technology we have, we talk about replay all the time, that somebody on site can't sift through all of this.
Sure.
So it doesn't bug me, but it's embarrassing for golf. What bugs me is the incorrect scorecard signing. One of the dumbest rules, I think, in the history of sports. But she signed it under the First of all, I think that's a dumb ritual.
She should have known.
You got to go in the clubhouse, sign your name.
She cheated.
She may have.
She cheated.
Okay, but she didn't know that she got caught. She didn't know that if signing it incorrectly can just be an automatic, 2-stroke penalty. If you don't know,
it's her conscience.
Sure, but so you think it's cool to go in a tent and sign it
trying to get you going
and put your initials? I think it's the dumbest rule in sports. You can be penalized for that.
Yeah, I mean the weird thing is that they accepted her signature, which would suggest they didn't think anything was wrong.
That's my point.
So you want to docker the 2 shots. See, I actually am offended. Well, here's the odd thing. Golf is the blue blood, most pompous, arrogant sport ever.
Correct.
And yet, when it comes to this issue, no sport's more accessible. You could be your average blue-collar schlub, sitting after having 4 pizzas in your underwear or your leggings, depending on if it's United Airlines, and you can call in and change the outcome of a tournament. What is more, sort of like connected than that everyman sport? But to me, it's still stupid. I've talked to enough golf people who said there are enough golf officials following each hole that it's on them to find that stuff. And I'll even accept, we got our own video, and one of our officials said, go back and check what she did on that shot. I'm okay with that. But the notion that you're going to open it up to the masses is ridiculous. Come on, let's be honest.
Enough said, and if you're going to down 4 pizzas, you're not allowed to wear leggings. Dan.
What's that?
4 pizzas, you can't wear leggings after eating 4
Wow.
pizzas.
Jeez. All right.
This is a popular story. This is a good one. A group of high school newspaper journalists in Kansas uncover major credential issues with their new principal. They knew something was up. The principal ended up resigning because the superintendent couldn't even confirm her undergraduate degree, let alone doctorate and master's. The teens were actually told to stop poking their noses where they don't belong, and now they are being applauded for their investigative work. Dan?
Well, the interesting thing about this story is I worked on my high school newspaper.
Yep.
I worked on the college newspaper. I even worked on a grade school. It really wasn't a paper. It was like 2 mimeograph pages.
Yeah.
And I can remember getting myself in the meat grinder for ripping, we called them the safety patrol. Kids who were sort of in charge of keeping
You went
the
after
lines.
the safety patrol?
I hammered the safety patrol.
On what grounds?
The kids loved me for it. The teachers were bitter. And it's that age-old issue of, if you're a kid, how far can you go testing the limits of journalism in the First Amendment? And the beauty of it in this case is their vindication is their validation in that
the resignation.
They actually exposed the fact that the people in charge of hiring didn't do their due diligence. So even if you hate the concept of giving kids that much power, they win because they nailed a story so effectively that you got to give them their props.
It is funny. We definitely need to revisit your safety patrol story at some point.
They're bad blood.
Yeah, we got to revisit that.
Went after me several times as a result.
If you're the school board or the superintendent, don't you just end it right here for your career there? Like, I hate people losing jobs in Pitchfork Nation, but don't you have some sense of self to go, look, I have completely blown it here. Everybody saying, here's my key card. I can't in good conscience continue to pretend like me being in this role is good for anybody. And even though I think I'm trying to do some good here, I'm so embarrassed that this whole thing, we hired somebody under all these pretenses, and a bunch of high school kids blew it for us.
That went to, as I understand it, a college that doesn't exist.
Interesting,
right?
Sure.
It is amazing how you're not doing any due diligence there. So, yeah, kudos to the kids, I would say. And you're right. We shouldn't leave out the fact that
you just say,
we're
I'm
always
done.
calling for people's heads.
Yeah.
You should call for your own head. They should do the decent thing under circumstances.
Just say,
like
I'm done. Sorry, we blew it. I tried to do good work. We should have. It was dazzling. The interview was dazzling. If you could have been in the interview, you wouldn't have thought about it. But I have to go.
The school paper and the advisor, you got to give them. The advisor gets a raise, as far as I'm concerned.
I would think the advisor could be the new principal. Maybe that could be the reward.
That could be the answer.
Here's another good one. Model and reality star Kendall Jenner is getting social media backlash from her new Pepsi commercial. So much so that Pepsi yanked the ad. In it, Jenner is modeling. Let's take a look. When protesters walk by, she rips off her wig, walks through the demonstration, there she goes, and delivers a Pepsi to a police officer. You'll see it in a second here. Wait for it.
Yeah.
Peace.
Love.
It's coming.
There's Kendall.
Where's the Pepsi? There it is.
There she goes.
Every protest has a nice thing of Pepsi right alongside, doesn't it? Don't they?
Pepsi did release a statement saying that it was trying to project a global message of unity, peace, and understanding. Clearly, we missed the mark, and we apologize. It goes on, and they also apologize for putting Kendall Jenner in this position. Justin?
You're bitter about the apology to Kendall Jenner.
I am.
Well, a lot of people are, actually. Why?
She agreed to it.
Yeah, but it's easy for all of us to say, oh, I never would have done that. When you're talking about the money that gets thrown around and everybody's trying to make a living. Kendall Jenner, would other people have stopped
Apologize for the ad, not
Maybe.
to her.
You
really want to make it about her?
Well, no. Well, that everybody else is. The people she's getting, static.
Well,
on
the
social
Jenners,
media.
the Jenners are never going to be popular.
No, they're not.
There is that, and
no, they're not.
There's some unfair.
Just don't go down the protest road when it comes. If you want to just do like some kind of festival, some kind of unity.
Are you old enough to remember the "I'd like to teach the world to sing"?
Yes.
If you want to reprise that,
that's a nice one.
Go ahead, and no one would give you any trouble. But you got to. I mean, it's so precious. I looking at it again, it's just embarrassing that people got around a table and said this could work.
This is highly vetted.
The volatile times in which we live, and you know what'll be the unifying force? It'll be a Kardashian and a Pepsi can. Give me a break. I mean, how is anybody going to take that seriously?
No, and the sad thing is we talk about this all the time. These things get vetted. They don't just get thrown together
allegedly.
Like one of our radio shows last minute.
Or is it a conspiracy theory?
You've
heard that one?
No, I haven't.
Well, the oldest one is they knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew they're going to have to pull it. But they got all the attention they wanted, and everybody's thinking about Pepsi.
That's a good
point. People are not going to boycott Pepsi on the basis of that commercial.
Probably not. Now, the biggest mic drop was Dr. King's daughter, who tweeted out the photo. I mean, isn't that the ultimate mic drop of all time?
You want to talk about resignations? That would cause me to want to resign if I'm involved in any of the sort of
Martin Luther King
concept.
The picture, Martin Luther King being arrested in a protest, very similar to that ad. And she writes, "If only Dad had a Pepsi." Oh,
no.
I mean that's rough. She's right.
There's just no way.
That's rough.
There's nuance to the whole issue of cops and demonstrators and so forth, but you can't do it in a commercial, and you sure as heck can't do it under those conditions.
Do you think this will ruin Kendall Jenner's modeling and reality TV show career? That would be unfortunate.
Why don't you start a GoFundMe for her? You feel so sorry for the money that she apparently. Well, does she have to give her money back?
I don't think she does. I just think it's a little.
Why are you apologizing
it's easy
to her?
for all of us. She did, but it's easy for everybody to say, "Well, I never would have done it."
For Kendall Jenner?
No, I don't. Certainly, well, I know Lori does. Yeah. Lori, that's why this is probably in here, because she's the Kardashian follower of the three of us. But it's too precious, too easy for us to say. I would.
Time for the lightning round. He fooled us once, he fooled us twice, but Lil Wayne will not get us again. He is not rescheduling his concert at the Target Center. The latest one was canceled actually during the show because his plane was having mechanical problems. Justin?
If he books another show here, no one should buy tickets, in all honesty.
Mechanical problems. What do you want him to do?
No, but he's done this before, like Lori said. And mechanical problems.
They're getting
game time,
granting complete refunds.
Okay.
As I understand,
well, that's what they should
everybody.
do. Well, we get mad at NBA players when they don't play.
The
this is even worse.
Wasn't it like 9:30?
They were already at the show.
There's some bitterness.
Yes.
People took days off from work to go to it. I read it in the paper. This is a sad one. A 42-year-old man in Denver choked to death after a donut eating contest. There are so many of these contests that still take place. What is the allure to them, Dan?
I have no idea the allure.
And this has always been the concern, right?
I will say, if you decide you elect to participate in a contest in which the goal is to eat 89 hot dogs in 4 minutes, you might die. I hate to say it, but you got to think about that. Now, a lot of stations, I think, have pulled away from that because of the lawsuit implications.
Yeah,
right?
you mean radio stations or TV stations that have put these events on? Yeah, there's I think the famous one of drinking too much milk or drinking too much water.
It's wacky morning show material. I've never gotten it. I'm an afternoon show, so I wouldn't know.
We're
Next
much
topic.
more highbrow.
The Vikings signed new quarterback Case Keenum. He spent his first 5 years in the NFL with the Rams and the Texans. What can he do for the Vikings? Justin?
Hold a clipboard probably pretty well for my guy Sam Bradford, I hope. I'm a little worried. You know that I'm a big Sam Bradford guy. Sam Houston, as we call him, for the first 5 weeks.
You're way too.
But at some point, I'm worried that we're gonna fall back into this backup quarterback, just roller coaster where we're just
because he gets hurt. You mean?
Well, Bradford, or you have to sign here, and then what are we left with? And he's just another guy.
If Keenum plays more than 2 quarters, they're in trouble.
That's a problem.
I would say.
I would say that's a big issue.
He's a very, very mediocre. I think
people just like saying Case Keenum.
He's got a cool name.
He's got an interesting name.
Good alliteration.
Case Keenum. Even though I don't think it's spelled the same. I think it's a C and a K.
No, it's a C and a K, that's right.
But they make the same sound.
The Wild isn't mediocre. They are matching history. They tied the record for wins and points in the season. If they win Saturday, it will be their best record in team history. Dan?
You're worried.
I am worried.
You're not feeling good about this club.
Well, it didn't end the way it was supposed to. They were supposed to have the best record in the Western Conference. Guess who does?
Chicago.
It's the Blackhawks. They can take care of, they can resolve all the worries if they, do something in the postseason. I'm still worried about the goaltender. I am. That's going to tell the story. And I might be ready to, one bad game, I might be ready to go to Stalock.
Who's played pretty well the last couple of weeks.
I think all bets should be off in this postseason.
Well, now the regular season is over now, as we know, or will be within the next 24 hours. So they've made the regular season irrelevant, though, the last couple of years because everybody wants to know how are you going to do in the postseason. Are you going to win? Are you going to beat Chicago and all of that?
Not a lot of risk, or a lot of risk and not much benefit. The NHL says they will not play in the 2018 Olympics. The events disrupt the season, players can get hurt, the committee will no longer pay travel costs. What do you think, Dan?
I have no problem with this. I'm in the minority.
You are.
A lot of people are, it's a great showcase. I don't think the NHL is going to be any more or less popular on that basis.
That's fair.
And I do think it's, basketball's got the advantage where they're in the Summer Olympics. And I think it is disruptive. I don't think they get enough out of it. And I know Parisi was bitter about it.
Yeah. But Ovechkin said he's going.
Okay, we got to get to this
last one. Ovechkin said, I'm going.
It's fine.
The Scripps National Spelling Bee is doing something different. The last few years, it always ends in a tie. So now the kids are going to take a test beforehand. They're going to put the results in an envelope. And if there's a tie, there's the envelope. There's the tiebreaker. Justin, what do you think?
Good idea, because it has been, these kids are getting too smart. They never get anything wrong. So my only concern, though, is if you open the test results
do a shootout
and it's still a tie.
Of some sort,
I think they've tried that, but these kids don't get anything wrong. They're in dictionaries since the time they're a fetus.
How do we know the envelopes, that's not going to be rigged or wrong?
La La Land